I guess first thing to hit on right here is we just mentioned EUIC, and it could see numbers over 4,000, which would be cool. It is up there right now, actually. The registration did go live past the pre-registration for the people with the early reserved seating, which now extends out to top 32, which is really cool to see going into the season. We mentioned it. We've talked about it before.
Yeah, for those who don't know, the people who, in the previous rating period, which is just the amount of time between the
ICs.
major tournaments, the ICs, so the people who had the top 32 amount of points in each region got priority registration for the international championship. So that is cool to see the most dedicated people getting a little bit of something extra. And it's not like a massive amount of people. It's not like they're giving 1,000 people priority registration. They're giving maybe a couple hundred.
That's not that much.
Like less than 200 total across the world.
Yeah, so registration went live, and we already, I guess, heard about this at the last week, but not before we last talked on the podcast here. But currently, there's 2,869 players registered for EUIC for Wave 1. There's only 2 waves, I believe, right?
Gonna be a big one.
So we'll be over 3,000. Not in the Masters division. That's all divisions combined. We could see over 4,000, 1,000.
It just depends on how big Wave 2 is going to be.
Yeah.
And we're not going to know because we're not going to be up until 4 a.m. our time to figure that out.
Yeah, 1,200 players more. That's only half of the first wave. I feel like a third of the full registration being in Wave 2. What if it's split equally, though? That would be insane.
It definitely isn't. I don't think they've ever done a split equally wave release of registration. But yeah, registration has gone through as expected. I think the first open Wave 1 did sell out pretty much instantly.
Yep.
I think that's just kind of to be expected. EUIC the last couple of seasons has just been like that. And,
It's basically on par with NAIC at this point.
we will see with Wave 2 how true that does remain, right? Maybe we get a little closer. Maybe it doesn't sell out immediately. Maybe it sells out in 10 minutes, 15 minutes, something like that. But it could be a little bit more reasonable. But there's definitely been a big talking point around EUIC specifically, and that is because this kind of came out whenever people were registering a little early.
With the priority
EUIC is
range.
expensive. It is 70 British pounds, which at current conversion rates converts to about $95 USD.
Yeah, so there's a couple things to think about with this. And I don't think the immediate thing that I think people jump to is to always be like, well, yeah, I feel like just jumping to like the negative. I mean, it's more money, right? How much more is it than last year? Is it like $30 more?
Yeah, I was going to pull up, there's another tweet. Yeah, Benji Fam here tweeted out the EUIC entry fees over the last few years. Frankfurt, 45 euros. And then 2023 London, 60 pounds or 72 euros.
Oh.
24 London is 70 pounds. 24 London was 70 pounds. 25 London, 75 pounds. So it's a £5 increase.
Okay, so it's not that big of an increase. It is an increase, but I don't remember how much it was last year. Yeah, we kind of have to wait and see what the event is like. Like, where is this? Is this just kind of cost of
doing business is going up.
Cost of doing business year to year, or is this actually going to lead to? I mean, one thing that people complain about a lot with recent events is just like how enjoyable they feel to go to. I know Nico Alabas has been like a big, very outspoken about that himself. He's even like made statements before. He's like, I just want them to charge more or to like limit it to less players because these events have gotten so much more unenjoyable over the last couple seasons because there's a lot more people being crammed into not comparable like size of venues, which is true. Stuff like there's always complaints about stuff like bathrooms and stuff as well, event to event. So maybe that's part of it. Maybe they're getting a lot bigger. This is at the Excel Center, right? We haven't changed.
It is at the Excel Center.
Yeah, so maybe they got like a lot more. They definitely got more room because this is going to be more players than there was last year by a decent amount. It looks like. So maybe they got like a lot more room with this extra money. That would be cool to see. But honestly, £5 isn't that big of an increase, so it might just be year over year cost of business type deal.
Yeah, but I mean, if you look at this year, 2025 season, 90 euros effectively the conversion rate, right? Frankfurt just a few years ago, 45, a 2 times increase in 3 years. Is that the cost of business going up? I mean, it's pretty steep. I mean, but to be fair, the jump from Frankfurt to London was pretty big, 45 euros effectively to 72.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things Benji
Well-
just kind of points out here at the end. He says, we've had London 3 times in a row now. Maybe we can have EUIC on mainland EU next year at Play Pokemon.
If you're like traveling out of Europe, it's definitely cheaper to go to
Sure.
London than probably anywhere else in Europe. It feels like. I feel like London is like my flights to London usually cost less than most of my flights to regionals in America. Like, so I guess we'll see if they run it back with London again. It does seem like it is a good location internationally. I guess for Europe in general, I don't know, like the European players. I hear mixed things from the European players. But whatever's best for the community, I think, is probably what we should look for as far as location-wise goes. But yeah, that's a talking point. It wasn't as bad as I thought, and we'll just have to see how the event goes. It got more expensive. Will the event be better? But even if it's not a huge increase.
I would be surprised if there's like some massive thing that is different now between this year's EUIC and last year's that like is where that money is going to. I don't know. I mean, who knows? What could there possibly be, right? Like, what would you want that extra money to go to?
A lot more space would be the number one thing, I guess.
But, and that is true. The Excel Center is massive.
It's
so,
big.
You know, maybe they have rented out more space, and I mean that hall is like super long.
Yeah, well, they almost for sure rented out more space because it's probably going to be a bigger event, but on top of like the extra people we'll have.
Yeah.
And we can also like compare this to NAIC this year as well, because NAIC is in the same venue back-to-back years, so we can see the cost between NAIC last year and this year.